till you get there.
Yeah.
So, again, our guys have done a great job of figuring things out, and each summer coming back better than the year before. I don't expect anything different this year because they're committed to it. They're about the right things. They're about doing it together as a team. So we keep putting them in positions, and they keep putting themselves in position to succeed.
Coach, tell us about the summer. I mean, how do you enjoy yourself? You got to get away from it a little bit. What do you do during the summer months?
I spend as much time with my family as I can. Me and my wife always joke, like during the season, I'm like a ghost in the house. I just kind of move through. You never know if I'm really there or not.
Right.
But in the summer, I spend a bunch of time hanging out with my kids. They're into soccer, they're into basketball. So I travel as much as I can with them to watch them play their games. And I enjoy watching them compete. It's so much fun watching all the things that they learn from team sports, how they become good teammates, how they become leaders, the type of people that they are. So for me, it's enjoyable to just watch them continue to grow. But that's my happy place is watching them.
So when then do we put the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers hat back on? When does this thing start to really rev up? Is it just media day and we start practices tomorrow, or when does that work?
It never stops.
Yeah, I bet.
You find moments, like I said, where you can get those breaks. But sometimes even when I'm watching their games, things pop into my head, and I'm like, oh, wow, we got to figure that out.
Pick
we
up
got
a little different wrinkle.
Yeah, it's and it's been funny, watching soccer and then seeing the ways that soccer can translate. Like soccer, they're trying to create, advantage opportunities. They're looking to create 2-on-1, 2-on-1s. They're playing give and goes, all
high
those
pick and
things.
roll there.
Yeah, all those things. You're figuring out. And you're like, I like that. Let me see if we can add that.
Awesome.
So it never stops.
That's good.
Like I said, you have to be kind of sick to do this job, but it never stops. And you find different ways of inspiration, all summer long.
Coach, what is it that you hope this team improves on from last year? The record, 51-31, but bounced in the first round. Where are you hoping to see improvement from this team this year?
Just making sure that we handle adversity the right way. And adversity can be being up by 10, just like it is being down by 10. It can be winning 6 games, 7 games in a row. It can be losing 5 games in a row. Those moments of adversity are going to help us long term because, when we get into the playoff situations, it's going to be difficult to continue to advance. And that's not something that you just flip a switch and decide, okay, it's April, we're going to do it now. You have to challenge yourself throughout the entire year so that you build that callus so when things get difficult, you're prepared for those moments. So that's what our expectation is, and that's what we're aiming to continue to challenge our guys, continue to make them find adverse situations, and seeing how they respond.
Coach, we didn't stumble out of the gate last year, but to start the season, the eye injury to Darius Garland, how much did that set back the growth or the potential growth of the offense at the get-go?
I mean, it just changed it. It's one of those things where, figuring out two guys like Donovan and Darius in the backcourt, also Karis LeVert, how dynamic they are with the basketball in their hand. It made it a little bit more difficult to find that balance early because, in particular, Karis was moved over to the two-guard spot where he was able to play with the ball in his hands a ton. And then when Darius came back, he moved over to the 3, and then you had all 3 of those guys, and he kind of had to figure out, how do I survive off of those 2 guys? So it did have a little bit of a disruption. Again, I give our guys credit. Donovan came out and had a phenomenal start to the year, which kind of carried us and propelled us. But you're trying to always find that balance.
Right.
And when you're trying to find the balance, the only way it comes is by experience and reps and having those guys on the floor together. So, it took us a little bit of time to kind of figure that out. But I think eventually we figured it out.
Did it have a lasting effect on him? Because at times it looked like this kid needed a football helmet because he was getting decked every play.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. The way he plays the game, you know what I mean? He's fierce, and he attacks the basket, and he looks for physicality. He puts his body on people. But it was, 2 things. It was he got hit in the eye, and then he got hit on the thumb.
That's right.
And so much of what he does with the ball is the ball in his hands in traffic. So over and over again, he's getting hit on the thumb. He's getting hit in the eye. So, I think you go back and look at his numbers, and, he was more efficient last year than he was the year he was an all-star. So, he found a challenge and found a way to overcome it. and was able to have a successful year.
Cavaliers head coach J.B. Bickerstaff joining us here on the Kenny and JT Show, live from Cavs Media Day, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Coach, was it fair to say that you got out physical in that Knicks series? And how do you address, can a team become more physical, or do they have to become stronger to then, I guess, assert their physicality?
Yeah, I think what we ran into, was a maturation process, right? I think the Knicks had guys that had matured and at an older age than where our guys were, and I think that's part of this process. You can obviously, become stronger, lift more weights, do all those things. I think our guys have committed to, but now you have to learn leverage. You have to learn different techniques of where you hit guys, how you hit guys, when you hit them, in order to be able to escape that physicality and understanding, we don't want to play a wrestling match. We want to be quicker. We want to be, more athletic. We want to reach the ball at its peak instead of getting in a wrestling match and wait until, it's body on body, and maybe you put yourself in position to lose those battles. So, again, completely satisfied with our guys and where they are in the process. Living in basketball reality, you understand that some of those knocks and lumps you're going to take, but you got to continue to push through it, and I think our guys have done a great job of committing themselves and learning from it.
How excited are you about the offseason acquisitions of Max Strus, Georgie Niang, Ty Jerome, Tristan coming back, Damian Jones, and drafting Imani Bates? A lot of new faces. Some we expect immediate impact from. Others, Imani, two-way contract maybe down the road. But how excited are you to try and work those guys in?
We're excited for sure because we feel like we plugged holes. When you go back and look at what we did last year and you saw like a need, especially in fourth quarters and in the game situations and in the playoffs, we felt like we brought in a couple of guys or a multitude of guys that can help us in different ways, right? Max obviously has the ability to spread the floor. George spreads the floor. Ty can spread the floor and also put the ball on the ground and make plays. You have to guard George and Max at a different way, right? You have to chase those guys. They create opportunities for other. Tristan has always been a winner. I think we've seen that. You guys have seen that probably more than I have.
Right.
Whether it's a rebound, a block shot, an effort play, like, a switch and guard to guard. Like, Tristan has always been a guy that helps teams win basketball games. Damian Jones obviously has the ability, to similarly replace what Jarrett can do when we're playing the pick and roll and find that elevation and then protecting our paint. So I think we, and give our front office a ton of credit, had a great offseason. I'm extremely excited about Imani Bates. To me, Imani is a guy who was underappreciated as we went through that draft process. When you look at the guys, who were drafted ahead of him, I can't tell you how many of those guys are more talented than Imani. Imani's talent has never been questioned. I think the circumstances that he was in made people doubt him. But Imani is a heck of a basketball player, and whether it's right away or a year from now, like, we're going to be very fortunate that we made the decision we made.
Coach, the pace of a game, the pace of a season, the pace of your offense, things got to change a little bit this season. I've seen some of the comments that you made that we're going to play a little bit more of a different offensive or maybe a little bit of a different approach to it. But then again, you got to pace yourself for the length of the season. How do you get this all to come together?
Again, you have to understand, what you're approaching and what you're facing. Like, the NBA season is difficult.
Unreal.
It is long. It is a drag. It's not something, that you can sprint. It's something that you have to, experience to understand it. And you have to be able to pace it out where your guys are looking at 10-game segments, 15-game segments, 3 different seasons of when you're trying to play so that you can kind of condense it so you're not sitting there thinking about, all 82 and then the playoffs.
Right.
You also have to be in great shape. That's one of the things that we're working on with our guys and continue to preach is, like, if you have the ability to be at your best longer than your opponent, you give yourself a chance to win most nights. And that's one of the things that we'll commit to is our training camp is going to be difficult. We're going to be in great shape to start the season. Want to play a little bit faster, but you got to maintain that. You got to be in great shape. You also have to be mentally and physically tough to get it done. And again, winning 51 games shows our guys are physically and mentally tough.
All right. I'm going to put my talk show host cap on right now. My opinionated talk show host cap
here we
on.
go.
You ready?
Yeah, here we go.
I look at the offense and I see Evan Mobley, right? This is year 3 for him. And there's so much potential. He's just scratching the surface. I would like to see him get more touches, more opportunities to score the basketball. And it's kind of tough because you have 2 ball-dominant guys. How do you as a coach get him more involved where that 16 maybe jumps up to 18, 19, 20 points a game? Because I think, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think with us, and this is what our hope is for you guys that are talking about the game, that you spread our message as well. Evan is the type of guy who can score 0 points but have the ball in his hands and dominate an offensive game. Right. Just because we put the ball in Evan's hands more, which is our plan, doesn't automatically equate that he's going to have more points. He probably will have more assists. He'll probably create more hockey assists. What Evan does is Evan reads the defense and makes the right basketball play. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think it was against Milwaukee here at home, and he had 40 points, close to 40 points. They made the decision not to guard him when he caught the ball in the pocket because they wanted to take away the 3. He went and made the right basketball play over and over again. If you put 2 on Evan Mobley's going to pass the ball to the open man. So for us, and where we have to do the job, is we have to increase his opportunities. So that's our plan this year, is we're going to increase his opportunities, we're going to increase his usage, and then we're going to let Evan make the right basketball play because that's what he does.
It's going to be an exciting season. We're looking forward to it. I see a little AD in Evan Mobley, Anthony Davis, right? I watched the national championship game where AD scored 4 points but was still the MVP of the game because of what he did in helping Kentucky win the national championship. So I see similar things with Evan and his game, but I still want him to get more shots.
There you
go. All right? So, hey, JB, thanks for coming by. We really appreciate it. We're looking forward to the season here on WHBC. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you throughout the year.
All right, perfect. I appreciate you guys having me.
There is head coach